Yeah, I am called Mr. Portability. In fact, to bring everything up to date, just this last week, the Supreme Court ruled that portability is constitutional under our Constitution. Portability came about because if you bought a house in Florida and homesteaded it, over time its value increased. Because of Save Our Homes, you actually paid taxes on a much lower value. So if you bought a house for $150,000 and it's now worth $400,000, your taxes would be basically based on about $150,000. But if you moved, you lost all that benefit. So what portability does is allow you to take that difference and move it to another house and therefore pay a lot lower taxes. Because of that, many Floridians are now living in the home of their dreams. It obviously will have a bigger impact when house prices start moving up again.
Now, your opponent in the primary is Representative Ellen Bogdanoff.
Yes.
I see you guys as very equal opponents and worthy opponents. One difference you guys have, which a lot of people are talking about, is you voted against the ultrasound bill and she voted for it. Can you explain your decision for that?
Well, let me mention that, but also let me mention a difference we had on portability. She voted against portability. She actually had another portability plan, which would have capped portability at $100,000, and once that took into effect, your Save Our Homes benefit was only limited to $100,000. The Supreme Court threw that off of the ballot. But as to the ultrasound, it's very clear. Doctors should practice medicine, not legislators. The best doctor in the house, the senior doctor in the house, surgeon, Dr. Ed Holman said, listen, 88% of the time the doctor determines they need an ultrasound, they do an ultrasound. Sometimes they determine they don't need it. We have never before, to my knowledge, told practitioners what they should do. The American Medical Association and every other group that does the standards of practice don't mandate it, otherwise all the doctors would do it. So I'm not going to put in a requirement. I know she called it the other day common sense medical. Well, she may have a medical degree, I don't. So I'm going to let the doctors tell us what medical practices ought to be followed.
Okay. Another thing you mentioned that I didn't know about, you had mentioned that you used to be a Democrat and you became a Republican.
Right.
When did that happen? I'm curious because I didn't know that until you mentioned it.
Well, that's not an unusual circumstance, particularly for someone that grew up in the South. Ronald Reagan was a Democrat.
Right.
If you look at the Democratic Party when I grew up in the 60s, it's much like the Republican Party. Jack Kennedy believed in lower taxes and strong national defense. Basically, the Democratic Party walked away from that, so I walked away from the Democratic Party. And I did that in the mid-'80s when I found that every election I was voting for the Republican.
I agree. Now, another thing that's a hot topic that I think you need to address, and I've been looking to get this on rec with you, you were one of the first supporters of Governor Charlie Crist when he was a Republican.
Yes.
You came out openly with that. Now that he's jumped ship and he's running as a Democrat/independent, are you still supportive of him? And are you supporting now Marco Rubio as a representative for the Republican Party in the U.S. Senate? Even
before he changed parties, I wrote him a letter on other issues saying that I was no longer supporting the Crist campaign. I'm supporting Republicans. I am a Republican. I frankly wish Crist had stayed in as a Republican, but he chose not to. But I had other issues with him. He called the legislature an asylum. I think that we don't denigrate the other branches of government. That's just unprofessional. Just for example, like my opponent has threatened people on the floor and been admonished by that. That's unprofessional. That's not the way we should conduct business. Also, I think there's some expenditures that he was responsible for that are inappropriate. You can get my letter. It came out about a week or so before he changed parties.
I think I saw it. So do you support Marco Rubio now?
I'm supporting Republicans.
Okay. And again, and I want to talk to you about the immigration. You came across very strong on immigration. You support E-Verify. Do you support it publicly in the public domain and also in private business?
Yeah, look.
It's a hot topic, immigration.
I mean, what's unfair about making sure we follow the law? All of my grandparents, as it turned out, came over from Sicily, as it turned out. Mm-hmm. They went through the normal rules. They did whatever it took in the early 1900s to become a citizen. They became a citizen. We may need extra workers. We may need seasonal workers. And I have great empathy for people that come from other places to America. I mean, it's a good thing that there are illegals coming here because it suggests the place people want to go in America is here. We don't want to go there. But they should follow the rules, and the rules would be maybe a work permit system where they could work for 6 months or 9 months and then go back. But Florida can no longer afford $2 or $3 billion a year to support illegal activity. So I think we need to be strong on it. I don't understand why the E-Verify, it came up for just the public sector of this, and we voted on it, and everyone voted for it. But 4 years ago, it was up. It never went anywhere. So I do support it. In general, I support the fact that immigration is a federal issue, but when the federal government doesn't want to do anything about it, we need to do what we can do on a local level.
So you support the Arizona bill?
As I read it, and as I said the other day, just like Eric Holder and half of the administration, I haven't read the bill, but as it's been explained to me,
right,
I support it.